Uh, Chopso. Um, it's the first all Asian, all English language platform. And I've been a filmmaker for over 30 years and been an actor as well. And the whole time being Asian American, person of color, behind my wanting to work and tell my stories has been a diversity push. Which now we're starting to see more widely accepted. But within that effort, I've always felt it takes everyone on all levels and sort of all departments and all fields in order to create change. We've sort of been kicking and screaming and as actors in this corner or as filmmakers in that corner, but it needs to be industry-wide, needs to be, an all-out effort. And we've always had the talent, and we haven't always had the access, but we have more access now with digital filmmaking in terms of creating. What we didn't have also was sort of the distribution or exhibition or a way for our work to be seen in a large, larger sense. There have been film festivals along the way, and those are still around and still very important. But with Chopso now, it sort of breaks down that last barrier and creates a way for our stories to be seen. And that was the purpose behind telling the stories in the first place. So it's wonderful to now be able to sort of complete the journey of being a storyteller. Sure, there are multiple. There are a lot of platforms, and I think that's great. There's room for all kinds of channels. So I'm not a creator behind Chopso. I know the filmmakers and the people behind it, so I was asked to come on board, and I fully support what they're doing. It's unique in that essentially is Asian American, which has always been sort of an undefined thing. We've been Asian American artists and filmmakers for a long time, but what is Asian American film is something we're still trying to answer, and I think it's undefined. So in terms of Asian American content, it's been around now for 30, 40 years. In fact, you can go back 100 years, and there were early Chinese American filmmakers telling their stories in old Hollywood. So we've always, like I said, we've always been creating that. But in terms of specifically creating a venue for all of that storytelling, this is probably one of the first. There's been many efforts along the ways, as technology has evolved, but here and now today, Chopso TV is sort of at the forefront. The content for Chopso is really coming from everywhere. Like I said, the people behind it, I've known Koji Sakai for a number of years, as well as excuse me, Quentin Lee, who's a filmmaker, and others. And we have known of all of us as filmmakers, seeing each other on festival circuit, being as actors in other people's projects. And we've known for a long time there's been so many great stories out there, and they get to a festival, and then that sort of dies on the vine. Excuse me, that traditionally had been its limit. If you were really lucky, you would have a breakout film, and we've had those along the way. We still have those, and those are so important. There's also now more network television actually, coming into the picture. So we are breaking ground everywhere. But there's just been over the years many filmmakers, many generations of filmmakers creating films. So that collectively is an immense library, and it's immense. Educationally, there's so much history that's sort of stored on video shelves at different organizations and other places. So in terms of where that's coming from, we're looking everywhere, and we're welcoming everything, and we're looking under every stone. But on the other hand, we also know it doesn't take much effort for us to just think of all these films that we've known about that we wish more people could see. I would say no. The filmmaker specifically doesn't have to be Asian. Again, what is Asian American cinema has sort of been, in my view, it should be very broad. I mean, it can be created by an Asian American filmmaker. It could have Asian American cast on screen and created by a non-Asian. It could have a mix of a lot of different things. There are documentaries that touch on immigrant stories, and those can be traced back to other countries. And so, I believe in being, very accepting and very broad in terms of that scope because it helps all of us. And I think the same thing is true for the viewership. All of these stories are part of the mix of what is America and what makes America great, and what are the parts that make us the unique country that we are. And it personally, I think it's the broad range of all that we bring to the table. It's so diverse in a really, I think, wonderful way. So that, I think, is also what's behind Chopso, and I think again, we're welcoming to all kinds of media. We're interested in Asian stories and English language because that's sort of the target audience. It's basically an American audience. We know we've always been exposed to European stories through Hollywood that could be set anywhere and just performed in English or presented in English, and it's no one's questioning it. Why aren't they speaking French and Polish or German or whatever? And that's sort of one thing that Hollywood has not allowed Asian Americans to do. So English language it's an American language, and we all speak it. So we've been creating that content. So that's sort of the field of what Chopso is presenting. I think that's really that's really important, that Chopso sort of um, allows people to explore parts of their own history, culturally, in all kinds of ways that filmmakers do. I mean, I think it's all good. I think being able to see a lot of the content that's out there, being inspired by it, and knowing that if you are working on something, that there'll be a place for it to be viewed, in all the ways that having um, a channel like Chopso um, just opens up opportunities for filmmakers. And they can be, people who are fourth, fifth generation here, American, or they can be people who arrived last week. But that makes us all American, or that shouldn't limit you as a filmmaker what you want to do. In fact, I encourage you to tell those stories outside the box. That is, your own story is what makes it special. So again, I think my hope is that Chopso is further inspires more work and further provides opportunity for filmmakers to sort of go deeper into their past, deeper into their personal lives, deeper into their families, into their histories, as well as present day, what's going on today. So I think it's all great. I can't answer in terms of the name Chopso, but as soon as I heard it, I loved it because it's very catchy. I think it has a lot in there, and in a sense, it reflects to me, who I am. I think, and it's in a positive way. So that's my take on it. I mean, I think people will remember it. When I tell people, they go, "What?" Um, and you might have to repeat it because it's not a word. Those aren't sounds you hear every day. But I think this is a sort of a very positive way for us to go forward with Chopso. Watch Chopso. Oh, I think the one thing that for me is sort of payoff is that it was all worth it. Like I said, I've been acting for and filmmaking for over 30 years, and have always hoped that we could um, be mainstream. And I think that still is, a place for us to strive towards. But this certainly levels the playing field in a way that, and now it's like, okay, well, there was a reason we've been doing all these films, and the reason why I'm an actor, and the reason, why I'm. It's not just, going to go to a festival here and there, and then I'll struggle to get, will you watch my DVD? People can subscribe now and have access to hundreds of titles that either you might have heard of and forgot about, or you never heard about, or you heard of and now we have always wanted to see it. So that for me is the great thing. I've been at this for a really long time, and now it's like completing the journey of a storyteller. It's like, okay, I have the stories, I made the stories, and now we need to share it. If I could describe Chopso in 3 words, entertaining, important, historic.